Hi everybody. I never know when it's actually starting because it takes a minute um, for the screen to kick in to let me know it's going. So yeah, here I am. Here I am for another installment of Unicorn TV, which I realize I haven't been properly introducing Unicorn TV, and I want to start doing that. So I'm just going to quickly share this while I do that. Unicorn TV is just something I wanted to start where every week, currently it's on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1:30 Pacific time. But I'm thinking about moving it to 5 p.m. So let me know if that would make a big difference for you. But it's me coming on, sharing mindset and copy and business tips that I have personally used to grow my business and that have worked for me and all of that kind of stuff. And just thoughts that are coming up that I think will serve you guys. And it's all free and everything. And I also post it on YouTube. So I have a channel on YouTube now, which has all of the broadcasts. So it's Unicorn TV is all about empowering you to be your unicorn self. And it came about, it's tied to my vision, and that's actually what we're talking about today. So I can't wait to share that with you guys. Okay, I am so close to sharing this. I don't know why I'm never 100% prepared to share it to my group until I am on it. So if you're popping on live, let me know where you're from. And we're about to get going on the content. And I keep these to around 30 minutes. It's actually been around 20 or less, which I think is perfect. So, okay. All right. So today I'm talking about how to come up with a big vision. This could sound a little woo-woo or personal development-y focused, and it kind of is, but it's so important. I'm just going to turn off the fan that I have going. Sorry. I was like, that's probably noisy, even though I can't tell. So anyway, it's off. I see 2 people are on, so let me know who you are. But I'm going to go get right into the content. So I'm sharing about vision today, and the reason I'm doing that is because this is really what you need to keep you from staying in a place of stuckness or from falling victim to procrastination or any of those things that can get in your way along your journey. And I'm sharing this because transparently it's something that I've personally been needing to work on as I transitioned out of corporate. It's been 2 months, and almost exactly 2 months. And it's been a transition, and I've definitely had a lot of not new, but a lot of things come up for me that I thought oh, did I do the right? I never, actually, that's a lie. I've never thought I didn't do the right thing, but I have felt a little bit I'm doing the actions, but I'm not seeing the results, and I'm doing the actions without a bigger purpose, I realized. So this took a month or 2 to realize. But I would procrastinate on things over the past few months, and I'm like, why am I doing this? This is my livelihood now, etc. And so, long story short, I have discovered that it's because my vision was not really defined enough, and it wasn't big enough or exciting enough for me to really have it be driving me forward. And this is not to say I wasn't doing anything. I've been working every day practically, but I didn't have that emotional, if I did fall victim to procrastination, it was kind of oh well, I didn't get that done today, versus really seeing that by me not doing that, it was putting one more day between me and the people I want to reach, that kind of a thing. So what I realized going through what I've been through in the past few months is that my vision was not big enough. And the reason that it wasn't big enough for me was because this whole time since I started my business about 1.5 years ago, my vision was focused on myself, which I'll get into this later. I don't think that's a bad thing to start with, But it was just focused on myself and getting my life how I wanted it to look. So like I wanted to leave corporate and that kind of a thing, and that's all I could focus on, and I couldn't really think about what do I really want to make in terms of an impact in the world. But now that I've reached that huge goal of quitting corporate and I have the time to really think about the impact I want to make in the world, it was time for me to come up with that really bigger vision of, yeah, like the people I want to impact and that larger scale vision that goes beyond me. And so I realized I needed to do that in order to have something to drive me forward when I felt a little bit doubtful, or when I was whatever, going through some mindset challenges, or even just challenges on something not working that I was doing. The vision is really something you can connect to help you get through those obstacles. So that is why we're talking about this today. And I really have had to think about what would the world look like? What would my perfect world look like is what I've been asking myself to come up with my bigger vision, which I would say is like a world scale vision, right? And so what came back to me was, I picture an army of, I close my eyes because I'm picturing it, I guess, but I picture an army of women that are doing work that they really love, and they're making an impact in the world. And I thought of that quote, which is I don't remember it exactly. I think it was the Dalai Lama that said it, but it's like the world will be saved by the Western woman. And like, that is what I picture when I think about my big vision. I picture like an army of women that are doing work that they love, which is not only impacting lives by the people they work with directly, but also just the fact that there's so many women loving what they do and like having the lifestyle they want and feeling like they can have their career aspirations and like have whatever family time they want. Like all of that, like those positive vibes are just expanding. Like they're expanding the possibilities for the whole world indirectly, but also directly in terms of what work they're actually doing, coaching or whatever with people, and or being generous or giving or whatever. And so that is my bigger vision. I'm still feeling into it, but that is what I'm here to create. And the way that the work I do now is around copy and around helping people get their messaging down and get their business going and everything. And it's a piece of that, right? It's like one-to-one piece. And that's where I'm at in my business. And, down the line, there will be opportunities to have it be bigger scale, right? Like group programs, live events, all of that. And that'll come with time. But where I'm at right now is helping people with this one small piece, but it is a piece of that bigger vision. And if I feel like sad, or not sad, but if I'm bummed out that like somebody didn't decide to sign up for my program when I talk to them on the phone or whatever, I just have to remember that bigger vision and not let that derail me. Because one of the cycles I got into last year that I've pretty much been out of, but it did get me for a long time, was my emotions would just derail me for days before. Hi. Do you say it Iona? Iona? Or that's not an L, so it's an I. Iona. Let me know how you say your name. But hi, thank you for joining. So I would get in this cycle where I'd get like, for example, that example I just said, like I made an offer to somebody on a call and they didn't buy it. And that would like crush me for a week, before. And like, how am I supposed to get anywhere doing that? I didn't have a vision to really hold on to at that time. Now that I'm tapping into my bigger vision, I do have something to hold on to, so that if that happens to me, I look at what I can learn from the experience and then I move on and keep going, because that's the only way I'm going to create a movement of an army of women who I also envision as unicorns in my head, that are really doing work they love and creating change in the world. So, what else did I want to say? Sorry, I didn't have notes on this, to be honest, but it's been huge for me in the past few weeks to think about what is my big vision, because I was lacking that guiding post when things got tough. And so now I'm able to navigate the challenges without letting it derail me, and it's very much better. Like I'm definitely going to make more progress in my business and all of that. So hopefully I have sold you on coming up with your own vision And now I just want to talk really briefly about how you can do that. So I have to be honest, I don't have a fancy process. I don't have anything like that. But there are a few questions I've asked myself along the way. And I want to say, like I told you before, if you're in a place where coming up with this like grandiose vision for the world is like too much, that's okay. You can just come up with what does your vision for your life look like, which is what I did at first, right? Like I was so consumed with the fact that I didn't like my job and being in corporate that all I could really think of was I would love to be out of this job and supporting myself with my own business, right? That's really as far as I could get, and I just couldn't really get further with it, and that's fine. So if that's where you're at, then stick with that and start with that and just come up with a vision for your own life. And then later on, you can move on to a bigger vision. Usually, it's easier for people to do one and not the other. Like they have this big vision, but they can't think of what they want for themselves, or vice versa. So just do whichever one's easier for you, but spend, this could obviously take as long as you want it to take. It could take days, weeks, but, just set aside like some time, maybe half an hour, to figure out what your vision is. And the way you can do that, I'm a copywriter right now by trade. I'm a copy coach, all of that. So writing is a big deal for me. So I love journaling, and I think it can only help you to write it out. But if you don't like writing, you can do this like maybe on a recording. You could just record a voice memo or something. Hi, Melissa. Nice to see you. But I would just ask yourself, like, what do I want? And I'm a structured person. So just think about like your main life areas and ask yourself your main life areas. If you're doing this for yourself, like, which would be, they could vary, right? But it'd be like, career, health, and relationships, or something like that. Or it could be, spirituality, health, and business, whatever. But pick like 3 to 4 key life areas when you're coming up with the vision for yourself, and think about answering the question, like, if money and time were no objects, what would this area of my life look like? So essentially, hey, Melissa, good to see you. It's like a little bit of a lag on the comments. But so asking yourself, basically, if you had no circumstances working against you, what would you want to have in each? So, forget about the fact that you haven't had a date in a year or whatever. Like, if none of that fucking mattered, excuse my language, then what would you want to have? What would you want your relationship to look like? That kind of thing. Forget about the fact that you don't have money to invest in your business, or you think you do. If you are in that boat, watch my lives from last week, because I talk a lot about this. But, forget about that. Just like what would your business look like? So anyway, go through that process with journaling and spend some time, however long it takes, to come up with what your vision is for your life. And and that's like for your own life. And then if you're ready to do it for your, for more like a bigger vision for the world, then you can do the same thing, journal, but you'd ask yourself something more along the lines of, if I died tomorrow, not tomorrow, but like, I guess, because, then you wouldn't have had the time probably to make the impact. But like, if I'm a fly on the wall at my funeral, what do I want people to talk about? What do I want my eulogy to be about? If my grandkid asks me in 20 years, I'm making this up on the fly to be honest, but like if my grandkid, whatever resonates with you, but like if my grandkid in 20 years asks me what I did when I was in my 30s or whatever decade you're in right now, like what do I want to be saying? Like what is that bigger thing that I'm doing? And what is the world remembering by? I actually think those questions about like, not to be morbid of course, but like the ones that are more like, if I die, what would people say? Is a little more telling in terms of the big vision, right? Because let's think about Tony Robbins, for example. Like, I can't even imagine what it's going to be like when that moment comes, right? Because he's impacted so many people. And they're just, I get emotional even thinking about it. It's not my life. But it's like, And like Melissa's an amazing like relationships expert on this broadcast watching, and it's like when she leaves the world or whatever, how are people remembering her? I can only picture that she's going to have like tons of her former clients at the thing, and like some of them have gotten in relationships because of her advice and gotten married, and there's been kids born and everything, and like that's how she's going to be remembered by. So it's like that's her bigger vision. I mean, not exactly. I actually have never asked Melissa what it is, but like I'm sure it would be something around that, right? So that question of like, how are people talking about me and remembering me at my funeral is a really good one to figure out like your bigger impact and like basically legacy that you want to be leaving, right? So I invite you to answer that question if you want to come up with your bigger vision. And both of these are, again, guiding posts for you when things get tough, because life is not all perfect, and there's going to be good times and there's going to be tough times, and you need something like this, a vision to keep you going forward. So if you're still in your corporate job and your boss gives you something you hate, you can at least say like, you know what? My vision is to have a business and leave. This job is paying me to fund my business, so I'm just going to get through this tough moment with my boss, And then now, that's like me before. And then now it's more like I am doing the actions and not feeling the tie. And all I can think is, what am I really accomplishing here? Like, for example, I'm calling people that gave me their phone number. And it's scary. It was so scary to make the first few calls, right? But I'm like, okay, I can either sit here, be afraid to make a phone call, or I can just think about my army of women that I want to have creating and doing work that they love. And I can think about that and just make the call, So that's how it really helps you to have the vision created. And I just wanted to share that today. That's been very real in my own life. And I wanted to also let you know that I have a webinar coming up at 5 p.m. on Thursday. This is not on Facebook or anything. It's only being sent to my list, the details. So if that interests you, I'm going to be talking about 3 keys to attracting more clients. This is exactly the 3 things that I went through and did and found out and discovered by trial and error and by investing like $10,000 to $15,000 in coaching that I'm just distilling down to share with you on this webinar. So, and there will be time for live Q&A, and I would love to help you with some specific cues. So if that interests you, just send me a PM. That's the easiest way, and I can just add you into the email list, and you will get the emails and all that. So that is Thursday at 5 p.m. And again, I'm going to have another episode of Unicorn TV earlier that day, so I will still see you there. But I would love to have you on the webinar too. It'll be more in depth and longer, and again, have that live Q&A element that I think will really benefit you. So I'd love to see you there. Okay, that's all I had to share. Thank you for being on live. Iona, I think you might not be on anymore. Melissa, Jenna joined for a hot minute. Love you guys. Thank you. And I hope this served you. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Bye.